Alright, begun to reassemble the brakes now. I cleaned up this brake bracket, and it slides on the inside. There's really only one way to put it on. You know, copper bolts are going to come in from this way, so you can't really get it wrong. And it goes on this side, and you put these two bolts in there, and they're torqued to, like, I believe it was 80 foot-pounds. And I pulled the rubber boots off these and cleaned these out. Just shot some brake clean in there and put a rag in there. So that's what I got right now. I just got done putting that brake bracket on, and we'll keep pressing on. Alright, so I just got some caliper grease there, and I greased up my pin. It gets kind of a vacuum in there. It's a nice tight seal there. Hopefully that's showing up. So you put this bolt in first and you thread it. You just need a really thin layer of grease. There's also, I'll show you. I'm not going to pull it all the way out. There's a little rubber boot at the end of this bolt here. And so I cleaned that bolt all up and greased that little rubber boot. Make sure, because sometimes it stays stuck in there. And then you want to put this bolt, it threads into here. I'm going to torque it later on, but now I can hold the brake caliper on. I'm going to break this brake bleeder screw off, and let me show you something. Not break it off, but I'm going to open it up. And I put a clamp back here. It's just a little hand clamp, and that's going to keep the pressure when I need to push the cylinder in from pushing the dirty brake fluid back into my system. So when I break this bleeder screw loose, right there, then when I push this piston back in, the fluid will come out there instead of going back into my system. And so that's what I'm working on right now. So see how far this is out. I got to push that all the way back in, and I'm just gonna probably use a C-clamp here and an old brake shoe. I'll show you when I get it all set up. And these are handy. You can pick these up pretty cheap nowadays. And you know, you just ratchet it together and it'll pinch that line closed. Should probably have broken the bleeder screw first, but I gotta let it soak in some WD-40 because it's pretty tight. And it's just a little 10 millimeters bleeder screw there. Anyway, so that's what I got going on right now. Alright, so here's what I did. Is I just I break that free, and then got my clamp there and an old brake shoe, and as I tighten it up, you know, it spews out brake fluid, and just lock it back in when you're done. Excuse me, when you're done, and that's how I got it in. A little pinching going on in there, but I don't think that hurt it at all. And so that's a nice way to do it, and the C-clamp works out really well. So now I got my piston all the way in so I can get my brake shoes in. One thing I didn't know if I showed you, these are those little boots. These probably aren't that expensive, and I should have probably replaced them, but I didn't think about them. I took them off and they cleaned up okay, and they just go on right here. And the way I like to do it is I get my caliper grease, just to put a little bit on. A little bit goes a long way. Just get some grease on that there, and then you just stick them back in. There you go. So that's all there is to putting those in and out. So if you wanted to replace them, if they don't cost, they're probably not even that expensive straight from Honda. But that's how you take them in and out. It's pretty easy. So I didn't know if I showed that already or not. So now I'm getting ready to put the new brake pads in. I'll probably put the installation hardware in next. Alright, next I put in my adjustment shims. They just clip in. You might want to bend these tabs in just a little bit from the outside so it snaps in tight. Mine was a little bit loose. These ones are flat, so I don't really mess with them, so I kind of put those part in first, and they just clip in. You just want to make sure they're not wiggling around too much. And then there's a top one. It's identical to the bottom ones. There's not really, doesn't matter which ones you put where. And so anyway, so that's how you put your shims in. Okay, I just want to show you on your brake shoe. This is my new brake shoe in there already. You have that, I call it the noise maker. It's your wear indicator, noisy deal. you want that on the top and facing in. Just look for your boot thing, you'll know you're on the right side. Because it's got a curve, it's only going to go on one side. And what you do is you get your brake shoes, put a little bit of anti-seize, or the brake caliper grease stuff, on the ends. Just need a little coat there. And it might be a little tricky getting these in. It's going to be a tight fit because these are new shoes. But let me just slide this into the little brackets there. Hopefully, see how tight that is? So you're going to have to play around with it a little bit to get it in. But it will go in. Anyway, so that's where I'm at right there. Alright, hopefully I won't be in the way on this, but I figured I'd show you me putting the last pin in. So I just get pin there, put some brake grease on it. I'm just going to put a little bit on one side and just kind of get it all around the pin there. I like to put some on the end. And it just takes a really thin coat. I think I put a little bit kind of right there a little bit. And then try to keep your fingers and stuff off. Don't get any grease on your brakes there. You can see this, let's see, drops right into place. And want to make sure you compress your boot. That part might be a little tricky there. Actually, I should put a little grease on. I'm going to put a little grease on the end there, just so that the boot slides on a little easier. You can see how these would get pinched up in there. Take my new pin. Hopefully that's not in there. Now there's gonna get vacuum. That's probably, actually what I'm gonna do is put this in by itself first to kind of like lube it up. See, that's really tight. So I'm gonna figure out what's going on there. It's too tight. Might have a little debris or something in there, but basically I'm gonna push that pin in to help pre-lube it. And it might be just because it's dry, because I cleaned it with the brake clean and everything. I probably gotta get lubed up. So anyways, that's what I'm working on right there. Alright, we're pretty much done here at this point. I had a little bit of trouble with the bottom bolt. Didn't want to go in. There was too much corrosion, which is kind of weird. I don't know how it came out. But I had to clean that really good to get the bolt back in. So essentially all you gotta do is I just put the pads in, put a little grease on the, I'll show you here, grease the corner of the pads where they make friction contact there, and then just basically put these bolts in and just torque them down. And you know, as I said, I already torqued the mounting bracket bolts on there. And it's kind of interesting, this just kind of free floats in there. It can't really come out by the nature of the design, because this comes around and goes, you know, kind of grips on this side. But you could, well, you couldn't pull it out, but that's the design of it right there. But the bolts only thread into here, so it's just kind of weird that it doesn't thread into the this portion of it. It just threads into the housing there. And anyways, that's pretty much it. The only thing I really have left to do on this is I'm gonna put the tire on. There's no rocket science there. You just put the wheel back on, and then when I put it on the ground, that's when I need to torque this bolt and then stake it down so it doesn't go anywhere. So that's pretty much it, and I'm all done there. I just have to do the other side, and that's about it. If you have any questions, feel free to post comments below. If you like the video, hit like, and if you subscribe, you'll see more videos when they come out. Thanks for watching.